Welcome to the Inner Flame podcast where Stardust meets the body. So, this week is August 3rd, and I'm a little late. We had a very busy week and weekend, so I'm a little late. So, August 3rd through August 9th that we are looking at. And I also want to apologize. I did not send out my monthly newsletter, The Inner Flame. If you are on it's a separate email list, like on my actual website, where I send out a monthly newsletter for the energies, and I did not get to do August. And I was like really contemplating and thinking, and then I was like, you know what? I've been working so much with the feminine, which is about flow. It's nice to have structures, but there are some times where it's just like, you know what? I'm not feeling into that right now. So I do apologize, but you'll still be getting your weekly updates, and I will probably come back by September. So let's look at the week. I have had a buzzing week, if I'm honest, for myself. Lots of downloads, lots of full circle moments, and I do wonder how it will all maybe, work through this coming week. So we begin the week with really feeling like we're in between worlds. And I'm sure a lot of people feel like that. I really think we feel like we're in between worlds. And I know myself, there's so many famous people out there way beyond, what I'm doing, but talk about very similar things where we're kind of at this like bottleneck energy right now. And it can feel really hard because we're definitely in the liminal space. And the liminal space is between worlds. It is not a space where we have what feels like finite answers. It's like a space of like, well, I don't know. And for us, sometimes that can be very uncomfortable. And I will say that feels very much of the feminine, because the feminine energy doesn't always have the answers. It's not looking for labels or data or logic. It is in a space of the unknowing. And so it's really allowing ourselves to be open to being in that space. We then have, through the lens of communication, co-creation. And this is the deck, my mermaid deck. Well, it's actually called Beyond Lumeria, but I call it my mermaid deck. And I want to look into this a little bit because it's saying communication, co-creation. And I talk a lot about how, we're really sensing and understanding, like when we tap into, or I tap into the collective energy, we are what do I want to call that? Like a symbiosis. There's communication between us as humans to this like collective energy. And what does that mean for us? This means that we've got to co-create, we've got to be open to co-creating together. But let's look at the card. I mean, this also feels like communication, co-creation. I talk about the new paradigm a little bit, and it's really this feeling of moving into telepathic communication, nonverbal communication, and having this understanding, right? And I almost feel like, too, with between worlds, it's in this liminal space, and the liminal space is not always verbal. So it's like, how can we communicate in a nonverbal way with things that we don't understand, but we understand, we know within? Nonverbal communication, love language, telepathy, unique ways of communication, light language, multidimensional information, which is what I think I am getting. So again, I feel like it's allowing ourselves to be in the liminal space to receive different information, okay? This could be meditation. This could be opening yourself to the universe. And I think so many of us, we get lost in the logic of the day or the data of the day. What needs done, what needs done, what needs done. And we can sometimes cut ourselves off from the magic of the universe, from that communication. So, community coexistence, relationships, meeting our higher selves, really seeing someone, and deeper listening. This really makes me think, like, I just got on TikTok because I was like, why not? Why not put my stuff out in more places? And I was kind of looking on TikTok, and it could just be my algorithm since I don't really have an algorithm yet, but so much of what I was seeing was divisive. And this is really being able to maybe see someone, see them. And I think we get lost in that. You know, this is going to sound ridiculous because we even see these Karens who are acting like crazy women. And I'm not saying that that is okay behavior, but I'm also saying, like, what caused them to get that way? A feeling or maybe a sense of losing control, right? Knowing or maybe wanting to see somebody's story before making judgment on it, okay? We coexist together, So this is like also maybe saying, like, okay, we're in a liminal space, we're trying to open ourselves to the universe, but we could also very much be in a liminal space with each other right now, literally as people, okay? And then we've got this, if there's anything else. This is, perhaps you are being misunderstood because there is a dissonance between your words, actions, and behavior and what you mean to communicate. Words are like spells, so be conscious of what you say as you may be verbally sabotaging your intended meaning. So this is really interesting, even when we communicate with each other, right? When we're communicating what we want, what we desire. So let's all keep that in mind. Communication, co-creation. What is it that we really want and desire? This is also telling us through the expression of leap of faith. This is saying, let go. This kind of reminds me of the Fool card in a way in the tarot deck. It's like, this is my deck. So the leap of faith card is like the Fool, where it's like, let go. Just let go of what you think you need. You have everything that you need to get through to where you're going. Let go of the logic of the data, of the making sense of it, and kind of allow yourself to trust yourself being in the liminal space right now. Because I talk about the goo phase, and we're still there. We are still in the goo phase, okay? And I don't think that's something that I'm going to stop saying for a while, if I'm being honest, because I don't really see us, really kind of anchoring into the new paradigm until about 2030, which some people are like, what the heck? But just, that's what I intuitively feel. That doesn't mean that we won't see hints of it or that it's not there. It's just, I think we still have a little bit to go where we're in the goo phase for our own learning process as well. Okay, so then we get to the middle of the week and we are on loyal heart. And what's really interesting is this card to me is talking about being loyal, having devotion. I want to say, there's another word that I'm trying to say, but I can't think of it. And this is through the lens of endless opportunities. So I feel like this is really being loyal and showing devotion to the possibilities that are waiting for us. This feels, how I say, like, the last few weeks have felt very grounded. This week's, it feels a little more woo-woo. It feels a little more expansive, okay? It feels a little less logical in a sense. There's more room for the unknown here, okay? There's more room for not being able to make sense of it. So endless opportunities. And I think that is really hard for us to think about possibilities in a way, because I think we're sometimes curmudgeons from our reality, well, that's not possible, that's not possible, that's not possible. And it reminds me of the story of the bumblebee. Like physics shows us that the weight of the bumblebee should not be able to fly. It just doesn't, the mathematics don't add up. But because the bumblebee believes it can fly, it flies. It's kind of like Peter Pan, although he had that dust, I think, didn't he? Didn't Tinkerbell have the dust? Anyway, but you still had to believe you could fly. So this very much is like endless opportunities. Are we really allowing ourselves to see, and I can see this very much for like our own individual lives, but also what we are going through as the collective. Where are we not allowing ourselves to see and open what is possible? And again, I think we hang ourselves up when we're like, well, that doesn't make sense, and it has to make sense. But the feminine energy doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense sometimes, right? Like we it's like a feeling, a knowing, a reassurance that's there, that even though our external is not proving that, okay? So what is possible? Let's see if there's another message in here. And this is through the expression of stepping back. Again, this is like we are maybe hyper-focused on something, and we are getting caught up in our own perspective, or maybe what people are projecting to us. This kind of reminds me of like what we see in the news, what we're being told to believe. Really stepping back and allowing a new perspective. This says step back and look at things from a distance. Oftentimes we waste our energy on justifying our anger. Take the time to reflect on the situation and figure out how you can react from your highest good. Okay? And this is like just really interesting. So let's look at 23, endless opportunities. Decision-making, choice, crossroads, unrealized opportunities, taking the path of least resistance. I don't believe that. I mean, yes, but no, because sometimes there is medicine in the resistance. So I don't agree with that. I'm just going to say that. Take the path of least resistance. Sometimes there is medicine in the resistance. And do we allow ourselves to get there? And this is very nuanced, and I don't have time to like obviously go in through all the nuances of it, of the gray, but I hope you can pick up on what I'm saying. Taking the path of least resistance. If you're thinking about like an argument and it's like, oh, well, I'm just not gonna say anything. No, that is not the medicine. The medicine might be for you to stand up for yourself. It doesn't mean to make a scene, although sometimes that happens, right? And sometimes we're human, and sometimes there can be medicine found in that. But maybe it is saying, you know what? I actually am not going to do that. These are my rights, or this is what I'm doing, or this, it is maybe saying you might feel resistance inside of yourself to stand up for yourself. So I don't believe in that blanketed statement. Heart over mind. And I think that's where the loyal heart is what is your heart maybe telling you to do? Because our mind is always trying to figure something out. And what is the heart maybe, or the womb even, trying to tell you? Okay, the high road or the low road. Again, I feel like that's kind of nuanced, because obviously you wouldn't want to start a massacre with the low road, but some people could look at a situation and be like, oh, well, you could have maybe just said, oh, sure, I'll do that. And that might be the high road. But what is the high road if your integrity or your heart is saying, I really think I should stand up for myself because I have something to say here, instead of swallowing my words? Okay? So this again is saying your devotion, your loyalty to yourself, to your vision, to your heart, to your womb, right? Being able to see that there are multiple endless opportunities available to us, and being able to maybe step back and see that maybe what we are focusing on is not what it seems, and that there are other possibilities, right? We have to be able to allow ourselves to obviously feel what we're feeling, but to maybe step back and be like, oh, wow, I was putting a lot of energy into that. And maybe that would be the resistance. Like the resistance isn't like, no, I gotta fight, fight, fight. But if you actually step back, maybe you can open yourself to another opportunity to be like, oh, I don't have to fight. I can be embodied and aligned and still choose from a place that I am coming from my heart. Okay. That felt like a little all over the place, so I hope that makes sense. Towards the end of the week, this is where it gets a little interesting. We've got the yin card, which is the feminine card. Now, this is very interesting to me because the yin energy, I just saw something so amazing posted the other day that like really explained it, because I've been having my own struggle around the masculine and feminine, but I think I still need to let it settle a little bit, and I might write a whole article on it on Substack. But we've got this feminine energy, and I think a lot of times the feminine is viewed as soft and nurturing and nourishing and gentle, and while it is all those things, it is also raw, primal, primordial. It is powerful. It is a little bit of chaos. It is liminal. It is not labeled. There is flow, right? So it is all the things. And so we've definitely got this energy here that is saying, and maybe this is just saying the feminine is on the rise. Maybe this is saying there's something that needs to be looked at that, let's maybe look at the card. Do I have the card? The feminine principle of receptivity, letting someone else make the first move, gathering information and taking in cues, the art of conscious allowing. This is a time of calculated receptivity as you gracefully await what is coming to you, ready to accept it when it appears. Yin does not involve frozen dreams or even resting, but rather consciously allowing things to flow to you, poised to receive the bounty that will be made available to you. That's really interesting because we also have some cards here. We got like an extra message, so this might be a little bit longer than normal. So be the shaped, not the shaper, and you'll see how quickly your dreams manifest. Remember, you must make space for miracles to appear. So this is also really incredible because then we have the card that's saying nurture nature. And this to me is like, I feel like on a much bigger perspective, this is saying the feminine is on the rise, and it's actually going to be, it's really going to help bring everything into balance. The Earth card kind of reminds me of the like 10 of Cups in tarot. The ebb and flow of life, the loving embrace of Mother Nature, the natural beauty of death and decay, time and nature, ancestors. So this is really interesting too. Like maybe think about again, this one just feels so much more expansive this week. So it's like, what are the ancestors telling us? What are our own ancestors telling us? Growth through weathering storms. Nurturing self and heart so you may flourish. Yeah, nurturing self and heart so you may flourish. So we've got the loyal heart, being able to see opportunities, allowing ourselves to receive that. So the yin, there's like so many things happening in my own personal world with my downloads and my pings and what I'm about to, like what I'm just finishing, my article that I'm finishing, that is so woven into this. And I pulled these cards a couple of days ago, but it's just fascinating to see all these layers. But for a collective point of view, this is really saying, okay, for us to be able to receive what is coming to us, right? And growth through weathering the storm, nurturing yourself and heart so that you may flourish. And this is through the lens of creation. You know, where are we allowing ourselves to create? Create doesn't just mean painting or anything like that. It means, like, what if you created, in a meditation? What if you had a vision in a meditation? What if you wrote something down? What is creation to you? Maybe it's a recipe, maybe whatever it is. It's like allowing ourselves to receive this. And I feel like create is also giving us space to receive. So we this was like a couple weeks ago, right? To be able to receive our abundance through joy. I can't remember, was that like 3 weeks ago? But this is it's kind of feeling the same thing. Like, do something that makes you happy, that makes you feel like you're not doing it because you have to, because there is an outcome that you're looking for, just because you're just doing it. Kind of reminds me like when you're a kid and you're like, I'm going to gather sticks and I'm just going to like play in the mud and I'm going to create something. There's nothing that has to come out of it. It is just creation. And then we've got this extra message, which basically is saying Treasure Island. And this is like basically telling us that what the abundance, the bountiful of life is literally waiting for us. Also, this turtle is in the ocean, and like there's just so many things. Why a turtle? What does a turtle mean? And the ocean to me is saying our emotions, right? So be mindful of like what we're feeling, again, beyond the mind. So the whole thing for this week is saying that we have so much goodness waiting for us. Are we able to tap into that energy? I thought my dog was behind me. She left me. Are we able to tap into that energy and go in through beyond the mind, right? That liminal space. And there's a map, like, it's like, well, how am I going to get there? How are we going to get there? I think that's a big thing for people with the new paradigm. Like, yeah, this stuff sounds so great, but like, that's never going to happen. We're never going to get there. And there's this, the card, the map. And the map is basically saying, while growing up, we somehow identify with the belief that everyone's life map should look the same. If we don't follow the proper order society has bestowed upon us, society tells us we're doing life wrong. So your map may look very different than anyone or everyone else's. Remember that all maps lead to treasure, and some people just take different paths to get there. So not only are we seeing that within ourselves, right? This whole create card is basically opening up space for us to receive all the goodness that's coming to us, but we have to be able to go beyond the mind of how we think we should go there and trust that we have a map. And that's also for where we are going as a collective, as a consciousness, as a human race, right, on this planet. So trusting the map that doesn't always make sense, and knowing that your map is different than anyone and everyone else's. I think about my life. I reflect on that little bit, and I think about my life. I was always very intuitive, but I did the whole thing. I went to college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college. I went to beauty school. I became a hairstylist. I was very successful, but I was in so much pain. I hated it. I did not like being away from my kids. And I started to have these things really awaken in me over time. I mean, at least a decade. And I was just like, no, I'll figure it out, but I'm not going to like really be able to live it the way I want. And then finally, I was like, what am I doing? I'm living the life that everyone deems I should be living, but I am miserable. And I changed everything. And I'm not going to say it's been easy by any means, but I can truly say I'm happy. I get caught up in my own self, right? I'm the only one who makes it impossible to receive my happiness, because I might still get tripped up on the shoulds or could or would or whatever. But I made so many changes to live my life the way I truly wanted to. And that map does not look like anybody else's, and it still doesn't. And so I think we are being reminded this week that we are very much in a liminal space. Things might not make sense. Taking that leap of faith, trusting that you have so many opportunities, and how can you find pathways or doorways to touch that. That also reminds me of like signs from the universe, serendipity, right? Synchronicities. How can we, I feel like there's this hair on my face and I can't get it. It's driving me nuts. How can we tap into those synchronicities that we are in communication? I just had like a whole download this morning, and the first thing I didn't even get up to do my practices this morning. I was like, I have got to start writing while this is fresh. And I got right to it. And immediately I started having all these synchronicities. And like, this to me, again, this week is saying, step back from everything that you think you know, or you think how it has to be, and allow yourself to open to maybe some different perspectives, downloads, feelings, and getting signs to back that up. And then we're obviously moving into a space by the end of the week to be able to receive. And just really quickly, a reflection that I'll leave you with is, where do I block my ability to receive? Where do I block? Where do I not allow myself to receive? This could be in help. This could be receiving gifts. This could be receiving maybe some loving criticism. Where do I block myself from receiving? Okay, and remember that we are really moving towards something beautiful, especially this week. And I feel like that also, maybe we'll get like some amazing, profound glimpse of something towards the future, of the new paradigm. Or maybe in your own personal life, you'll get a glimpse of like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been wanting. But get there beyond the mind. Allow yourself to maybe not follow, like it's always good to have like the to-dos, right? But beyond the mind might say, hey, you're not supposed to do anything today. You need to go out and nurture yourself. You need to go out and like let yourself actually be and rest and rejuvenate and allow yourself to, tap into your own map in getting there. Because you'll have people who will be like, well, the data suggests if we do this right now, but your intuition might be saying, I need a day of rejuvenation for just detoxing from my phone or whatever, or conversations or whatever, and following your own map. Okay, with that, I leave you. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week.